It's your old pal back again one more time. This time on YouTube for our first video. The question on TikTok was, who did Cain marry? Well, we would think that he married his sister, or his twin sister, or whatever they say. Well, that would put him as incest. Now, God is all powerful, and to think that he couldn't overcome incest, he couldn't do anything about it, so he had to let Adam and Eve have sons and daughters that had sons and daughters and got together and had sons and daughters, and he could never overcome that, right? Okay, well, that's not true, because it tells you in the beginning, during the creation, that he created more sets of people rather than manlike. Now here's the thing. Everyone says mankind. Think about that word, mankind. Kind of like a man, or is it manlike? Because he made man in his own image and likeness. Now manlike makes more sense. Like a man, not kind of a man. So it's not mankind. It's all wrong. Now, if you look up above where he made man, like, he let the waters bring forth the living creature and the fowls of the air. That's weird. Birds from water. Okay. And then it says he created the whales, and the other creatures came forth. Okay, here's another example of wording. Come forth from the waters, and then it says he created. So that's exactly what it says in literal terms. He created the whales. The waters brought forth creatures that already existed. Did God create them? Yes. From the earlier times of what? Jeremiah's flood, the first earth war. If you go back to Jeremiah chapter 4, verses 22 to 29, it says, there was like no man, so there was no humans, but the birds of heaven had fled. How can he have fowls in the air that had fled these broken down cities, but there was no man like? That's because that proves that they had cities with people there. When I say people, I mean non-human. Human is us. They're not human. Next he says, let the earth bring forth the living creature. And then the cattle of his kind. And the very next verse, it refers to the cattle of their kind. And then the beasts of the earth. Living creature isn't mentioned again in that aspect. The word cattle, you think it's two different kinds of bovine. It's not. The Latin word for cattle is capitalis. It means principalities. Wait a minute. Who else mentions the principalities? Paul the Apostle. That's why they hate Paul the Apostle so much. Because he says we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. Flesh and blood, think about it. We don't wrestle with man-like. We wrestle with principalities and the powers and the rulers of darkness and the spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay, Paul told you that what was created as the cattle, the principalities, they were named as good before the war in heaven and also after that, just like refers to the giants in Genesis 6:4. There was giants before and after the flood. The word correlation here all matches no matter what book it is. It doesn't matter if the Bible was written at different times. It's the book's in order exactly as it's supposed to be. So the earth and the waters brought forth. How do I know also, besides the flood of Jeremiah, what the terms brought forth mean? Jesus told Lazarus to come forth. And where I'm at, obviously there's flies to interrupt me, and I don't have nothing to feed them. So Jesus told Lazarus to come forth. Well, Lazarus wasn't created in the tomb. He was already in there. So come forth means already existed. Lazarus, come forth. He wasn't created inside the tomb and then he came out as Lazarus. He was born already and he died and sisters were crying and Jesus said, come forth. Same thing as the terms that God used. Let the earth bring forth, let the waters bring forth. Things that were already created a long time ago, he brought them back. Here's the thing that comes next. He made Adam out of the dust of the ground, not the earth. That's a total different term. It's the goodness. Okay. So here's the thing too. The man couldn't be by himself. So what did God do? He formed the beasts of the field, new word. And then the fowls, and then the creepeth thing. So he got fowls that brought forth from the water. The earth didn't bring forth any fowls, and then he made the fowls out of the dust of the ground like Adam. These are all different hierarchies. And then what does it say next? Adam named all the cattle. He named all the principalities. That's why the angels and their species were pissed at him, because Adam was higher than them on the divine council of Psalms 82. And then the beasts of the field, which were your what? Actual animals. Wait a minute, what happened to the beasts of the earth that came forth? Well, you'll read about them again when they show up with the pale horse. You know, when they're given the power to kill man along with the sword and hunger and pestilence, because hail followed with him. The beasts of the earth are what we're all here for. The Nephilim hybrids. They were before Adam in these great cities that you may know as Atlantis, Shangri-La, Shambhala, Ultima Thule, Thule, Hyperborea. All shapes and sizes, all different things. Call them Greys, call them the Aryans, call them the Tall Whites, call them reptilians, whatever. Beasts of the earth. They're going to come back in the Revelations and kill a lot of men. The beasts of the earth are not the animals like hamsters and what we know. Of course, hamsters didn't exist in the Garden of Eden, but that's the correlation difference between the two. Beasts of the field are the animals that we know. And no, there wasn't different types of dogs and all that. Those were genetically evolved by our manipulation throughout the centuries. There's a very basic small worth of animals. So you may read that the cattle got on the ark. Did they? That's what it says. The cattle's a principality. Did they get on in a form, or did they get on as a DNA base? I don't know. Just what it says. Once again, it's confirmed that cattle means principality. So that's where you people come from. There's all kinds of people. Ham's wife was a descendant of Cain. She had the Rh negative factor. And there was also giants after that flood. My opinion, and I'm most likely correct on this, but the second sexual incursion of fallen angels and women came in the city of Sidon, because everything mimics what? Mars or Rahab. Rahab is the original Lucifer's throne. It's the original planet of the fallen angels, who were the original Egyptians also, by the way. And God made that planet the asteroid belt with no speckle of DNA existence on any of the rocks floating around. They moved their operations to Mars, and God took away their atmosphere because Mars has no atmosphere. Then they moved over to the earth, the third war on the earth, and God set the firmament and closed it up, and no light. And as we read in Genesis, starting in 1:2, about how he went back to the planet Earth and said, let's try this again. This time he made man-like, not mankind, and brought forth all the people who were the real mankind. Kind of looks like a man. So, that's how it went. Big John's Great Adventures. Telling you stuff you won't hear anywhere else. Kind of funny, isn't it? But like I said, it could be anybody's adventure.